Basically, the drivers are timed over various obstacles. Incur penalties every time they knock down an obstacle, and at the end of it all, the driver with the lowest time, the lowest total time, is the winner. This year, however, especially for BBC television, the Autotest Drivers Club have come up with a new and rather exciting format. Alan Tyndall explains.
When the Autotest Drivers Club set out to find a suitable venue for this very special invitation television event, they couldn't have found anything more natural than the Belfast Zoological Gardens. Here under the shadow of Cave Hill, 30 of the country's best Autotest experts have gathered to take part in a unique knockout competition. Drivers will compete in tandem, in identical tests, and the fastest man going through to the next round. So sit back, fasten your seatbelts for this new form of competition. Test racing might be a better way to describe it. The sort of memory-teasing diagram that the competitors get. This is for heat 1 and 2. Red is forward, orange reverse. Off the start they come, reverse through this one, forward again through this tight one, then very fast into reverse, down through this long avenue, forward again, through the monkey business here, keeping it left and right of the pylons and then positioning it in reverse over the end line. Back much the way they came, and then getting very fast at this stage, flicking her into reverse, forward again, then through 360 degrees, and finally over the finish line. The Lord Mayor of Belfast, Alderman John Carson, about to flag away the first race between Dermot Carnegie from Dublin in his mini special in your picture, and just behind him, Robert Dixon in the Metro special. Absolute tandem tests, identical. You can see the little Metro special, the white car in the crowd on your left. There's the recently re-elected Lord Mayor about to let her go. And two of the really most experienced men in auto testing are way absolutely side by side. And down they come, and you can see visually there's nothing in it at the moment, but there's no doubt that Dixon has gained the advantage in the Metro. Dixon in the white Metro having gained the advantage there, and both these men absolute favourites for getting through to the later round. Now they get down into the real monkey business section, you might say, of this identical heat 1 and 2 test, and this time, whatever Carnegie has done, he's made up the advantage. Nice close shot of Dermot Carnegie there. And you can see now that Carnegie has pulled it back in the middle. And he definitely is coming into the last section ahead. Dermot Carnegie from Dublin, many times Irish champion, and there he is, I would guess, about 2 seconds ahead of Robert Dixon at the end of the first run. It's time, Frank Lenihan. A lovely back view, but already he's flagging a little bit in the Metro, because on the other side we've got Noel Cochrane from Newton Ards in the unique Ford-powered midget, and the power of that car really telling on this fast test at the moment. Frank Lenihan, the Dublin driver, nearly always taking part in the larger saloon car class of auto testing, but look at Cochrane, the 31-year-old farmer, really enjoying himself in that midget as he used the handbrake to full effect, and he's got an enormous lead now. So the fastest 5 losers out of this first heat will also go through to the next round, but at the moment it doesn't look like Frank Lenihan's going to be one of those, because Noel Cochrane really has the advantage, and that's where a midget comes into its own, going round the pylon and well over the finish line as Frank Nolan is still completing the last maneuver. You're looking at the talented hands of Sam Bowden, the man who's currently lying second, and this is a handicap start. That's why he has to give 3 seconds, in fact, to Harold Hagen. Now, you've got the young blood in the foreground and the old experienced star, Harold Hagen, in the background. Sam Bowden, and you can see the gap visibly beginning to narrow, and look at Bowden go. Thought to be one of the quickest gear changers in the business, and already he's made up that 3 seconds, and he, in fact, now seems to be ahead on the road of Harold Hagen. Sam Bowden, comparatively new then to auto testing, only in his 4th season, and superb stuff, because Hagen is just about as good as you can get in this game. The Stewartstown man then definitely leading now in the mini special in Class A as opposed to the sports car of Class B, and you can see the enormous advantage he made up there, not only taking 3 seconds off Harold Hagen, but probably gaining about 3 seconds by the finish. You're in the car of Alan Murray at the moment, the Sligo man who has been Irish champion many times. He doesn't auto-test very much these days, and already Ian Crozier in the Fiesta has started the test with his handicap, and Murray really has to go some now to make up. And of course to go some without hitting any of those little trees, the conifers, which are being used as pylons tonight. 5-second penalties if you clip one of those. This is the fastest part of the course where the mini special should really catch up, and he must be level now. I would guess that Murray is now ahead, indeed he is. And that's incredible driving, the very cool art of auto-testing being beautifully displayed by Alan Murray. Murray now a regular Formula Ford single-seater driver in racing, but certainly has lost none of the skill, and you can see in the little mini special there the chart of the course hanging down as Ian Crozier from Armagh in the Fiesta, the front-wheel drive of course, like the Mini, comes up to go round the pylon as Murray goes over the finish line. A huge advantage there. Well, if experience counts in auto-testing, this is the man who has it all. Lee Lucas from Belfast, a director in a Belfast garage, in his Vauxhall Astra 1.6 and in the saloon car class. So he gets a 9-second advantage over something like a mini special. And indeed, it is a mini special that he's up against, because that's Paul Phelan in the background, again in the motor trade, 36-year-old Dublin man who has done just about everything in motorsport, include winning the Circuit of Ireland. But Lee Lucas started way back in 1959 in this sport with a Vauxhall Victor winning his class. Paul Phelan in the mini special, and so far these experts, absolute experts, don't seem to be hitting any pylons. Quite amazing. Lucas has been a Northern Ireland team member for many years, but look, the mini special has already overtaken him on the return leg. Paul Phelan now ahead in this one, throwing the nose and into the last sector where they have to go around this very tight pylon, and really Lucas's experience just being outboxed here by the sheer dimensions of that car. Phelan wins it. Well, Derek Coates on the far side has a 6-second advantage in this heat. We're looking at Colin Ernie, and we see Derek Coates moving away in the unique Toyota GT, a new car to auto testing, the very nice little 16-valve motor car. But Colin Ernie in the MG Metro, with nothing but the driver's seat suitably lightened in that Canes of Cumber car, a champion in a Mini, and again a comparatively newcomer to this sport. Shop proprietor from Cumber, 25 years old, but it's still Derek Coates who's leading at the moment in that very attractive front-wheel drive Toyota 16-valve car, and still ahead Derek Coates, a master of the large saloons, a 36-year-old civil servant from Bangor, and he's holding this advantage rather surprisingly, but just as I said that, Colin Ernie streaked through into the lead. And Ernie now certainly has got it all together, and quite a large advantage, as you can see. Over the finish line he goes, nearly taking our camera with him, and Derek Coates not being able to overcome his new car and indeed the dimensions of a large saloon in this type of motorsport. Ron Mullen, XR3i, Portadown director, 40 years of age and very experienced in the large saloon car class, with that advantage over Ken Irwin, Mr. Speedy from Castledurg, 7 times Northern Ireland champion in his Mini this time. So, again, the handicap working at the moment for Ron Mullen, and he's really got to go some, because he's up against the very best in the world, because Northern Ireland for so many years have dominated this form of motorsport worldwide. Ken Irwin then, and it's still Ron Mullen at the far end, but Ken Irwin trying to fight very hard with this little Mini, and look at Mullen go, but he missed a gear, he's missed a lot of time, Mullen in trouble, and that is not the sort of time you can afford to give away to Ken Irwin. It's going to be a very close finish indeed, but it's still Ron Mullen, and he's up on the pavement, and there's nothing in it. It was Irwin. Stephen Griffin, garage proprietor from Dublin, comes from the enormously talented Griffin family. He and his brother won the South of Ireland Autotest Championship in a record-breaking 6 years in a row. Steve Griffin, meanwhile, has been doing a lot of motor racing and now has gone back to autotesting in this very interesting beach buggy. Volkswagen engine in it. Up against him, the enormously talented Roger Cree from Belfast, again a garage proprietor, and of course he has the handicap disadvantage over the beach buggy in his mini special. So Roger Cree, again a former Northern Ireland Autotest champion, against a former Southern Autotest champion. And Cree with the disadvantage to make up, but it looks like he's doing it at the moment, and certainly Stephen Griffin was very slow off the line there, but it's still Griffin in front. Roger Cree whacking hard, as we could see it there, and this is going to be a very close finish indeed. The special a little bit slow into reverse there. Griffin could get it. Griffin has it at the moment, round the pylon for the last time. Cree's going to have to be incredibly quick, and he is. But I think it was Griffin by a fraction. That will have to be confirmed. And still it's Cochrane fastest overall in the unique Ford engine midget. This is Norman Ferguson and William Rutherford. William Rutherford on the far side, the current Northern Ireland Autotest champion. Norman Ferguson on this side from Stewartstown. Both mini specials and absolutely together at the moment. Look at this, superbly together. There's nothing in it between these two. They probably won't have time to glance at each other, but there's no doubt about it. Norman Ferguson had the advantage there as they came to half distance. The building contractor from Stewartstown in his little mini special won the Boxing Day trial, won by the Ulster Automobile Club, but this time Rutherford has got ahead. I think Rutherford is fractionally ahead. Really nothing in it. Rutherford just from Norman Ferguson, and that's certainly the closest one we've had. And we've just had confirmation that Roger Cree, in fact, did win that last one from Griffin, so really getting close now. Ray McCandless concentrating, trying to remember which way to go in this test, because he's got a disadvantage over Harold Hazard in the foreground, who has that 3-second handicap. Harold Hazard in the MG Metro, the director of Rent-A-Truck, who are sponsoring this event. And there's Ray McCandless from Cumber, who is a fruit merchant by profession. And he's in trouble. Ray McCandless a long way behind now, and there is no doubt that Harold Hazard is going to easily take this one, because Ray McCandless still going down the course as Harold Hazard is coming back. Hazard then throws the MG Metro one way and then the other. Started auto-testing in 1981. There's McCandless, looking as if he's going to go out of the competition at the early stages. You can see the enormous difference between these two. McCandless, that mistake causing him enormous problems. So Superfruit not having a super time tonight, I'm afraid. And the final runners in Heat 1 tonight, Peter Lynch in the Toyota Corolla from Dublin, and Ken Shields in his MG Metro. Ken Shields, who's competed in the circuit of... Oh, and he's got it! He's got a penalty. That's a 5-second penalty. A very, very rare thing for Shields to do. And really, Shields has been Mr. Consistency in auto testing, but I'm afraid he made quite a bags of it there at the very beginning of this one, and already now, despite his handicap, it's still Peter Lynch ahead at the moment. When that 5-second penalty is added in, Peter Lynch is going to be well ahead on this one, and this could have cost Ken Shields the opportunity of getting into the next round, so we may well have lost one of the most experienced and one of the most talented Autotesters of all in this very first heat. Lynch wins it. So they're the 15 winners of Heat 1 who get automatically into Heat 2. And notable amongst them is Cochrane there, who was the fastest man of all in his Ford-engine midget of 49.12. Also some of the very experienced people like Hagan, but also the new boys like Rainey and Ernie in amongst them. And the 5 fastest losers who also get into Heat 2, which includes Norman Ferguson, Stephen Griffin and Derek Coates in that rather large Toyota. So they're ready for Heat 2, identical course, and of course again tandem tests. And there's Noel Cochrane, the fastest man in Heat 1 in the Ford engine midget, away with an advantage over the mini special of Dermot Carnegie, and he's going to need it. The Newton Arts man then, Noel Cochrane, on top form, very powerful Mexico engined midget there, and you can see it really having an advantage, although it got into a bit of a sweet speed wobble. There's no doubt now that Dermot Carnegie is now closing. Carnegie in the mini special, not just ahead yet though. Cochrane putting up a really good fight. He's proved he can be the fastest man around here. And really Dermot Carnegie with that 3-second advantage to make up has a lot of work to do, but he's doing it at the moment, and he's now definitely ahead. Carnegie then in the mini special, going round that final pylon to take victory in that one, ahead of Noel Cochrane. And that means that Carnegie goes through. Harold Hagan leaves the start line with a 3-second advantage over Aidan Cavey in his Mini GT. Hagan lost a bit of time there in wheel spin, and you can see Aidan Cavey now from this high shot beginning to catch up, and a little bit ragged through the pylon that time. Changing direction, Hagan looking comfortable at the moment in this one. Aidan Cavey from Dublin then. Round they go through the monkey business here at Belfast Zoo, but it's still Harold Hagan with the definite disadvantage, I should say, as it comes back down the course. Cavey really crouching forward in the little mini there, trying to make back these inches, but I don't think he's going to do it. It's Hagan coming into the last sector now. Round the pylon he goes, and the midget would have an advantage there anyway, and he comfortably wins that one. Red light on, green light go, both mini specials. Alan Murray on the near side and Stephen Rainey on the far side. It's bound to be a close one. Two different ideas of how to do that first maneuver. Rainey is the current man. Alan Murray the more experienced, and Rainey's ahead. Rainey's definitely ahead. Stephen Rainey, only in his 4th year of auto testing, there he is. 3 wins and 2 seconds already this year, and Murray's in trouble with the gearbox. Sligo man there having terrible difficulty getting gears, and really falling back now. I think we're going to see Alan Murray drop out of this competition, as Stephen Rainey, undoubtedly one of the brightest young men in the auto test scene, comfortably takes that one. Colin Ernie in the MG Metro with a 3-second advantage over Paul Phelan, who's now on the course. Paul Phelan in the mini special. Ernie, very talented young man indeed. The large saloon champion in 1984. And the car that is the sister car and the team with indeed the man who was knocked out right at the very first round when he went the wrong way, Robert Dixon, a firm favourite for the event, but already out of the competition. So Ernie really now having to uphold the honours for this Cane of Cumber team, and at the moment that's exactly what he's doing. Paul Phelan not seeming to catch in the mini special, which he should be. Paul Phelan not going to make it. A comfortable win for Colin Ernie, who must have kept his 3-second advantage and possibly increased it. Well, the news that Stephen Rainey, who won the earlier heat, has a 5-second penalty means that in fact it's Alan Murray who goes through and not Rainey in that one. But this time we have Ken Irwin in the yellow Mini and Ralph Ewing in the MG Midget. Ewing again with the handicap advantage, and Ken Irwin trying very hard to make that up at the moment, and indeed I think closing the gap. So Irwin, the 7 times Northern Ireland champion, against Ralph Ewing, one of the up-and-coming men again at Auto, and he had a 5-second penalty. You can see the marshal with his hand in the air, so that's Ewing's chances gone, I'm afraid. So Ewing may not be aware at the moment that he in fact has incurred that penalty. It certainly hasn't cramped his style. He's going to win on the road, but I think it's going to be Ken Irwin who goes through in this one. So hard luck on Ewing there. Irwin didn't in fact manage to quite close the gap, but Ewing is going to go out with that penalty. Roger Cree fidgeting in the seat there of his Mini Special, ready to go. Against him will be William Rutherford. It'll be a very close sport contest indeed. 2 absolute experts. It's Rutherford in the head at the moment. Rutherford, a man who left Autotesting to go hill climbing for a few years. Roger Cree, a man who left Autotesting to go rallying for a few years. And really there's not a lot between them, but Rutherford just ahead at the moment. Both identical little Mini Specials. William Rutherford not in his own. This belongs to Arnold Kernahan, who very kindly lent it to him for the event, and I think Cree's ahead again. It's hard to say, but I think Cree is ahead, definitely at the moment. Yes, he is. Roger Cree much quicker off that end stop line. And he's missed a gear there, Cree's blown it. Cree, who had got back the lead, has blown it. It's going to be Rutherford, it's going to be Cree. Oh, I don't know which one it was. Cree, possibly. Well, confirmation has just come through that Roger Cree, in fact, just managed to beat William Rutherford in that last one. You're looking at Harold Hagan and Eamon Byrne this time. Eamon Byrne in the Mini Special with the handicap to make up. Harold Hazard very close to the shrubbery there here at Belfast Zoo, and going very well indeed in the little MG Metro. 34-year-old man from Carryduff. There he is, Harold Hazard, still with the advantage over the Dubliner, who did a very nice manoeuvre indeed to get over the finish line there, but he's got a lot of ground to make up to stay in this competition now. Eamon Byrne in danger of relegation as Harold Hazard in the Metro, but there's no doubt that Byrne's closing a little bit, but he's only got one pylon to do it on. It's a lot to ask. Harold Hazard's going to do it and get through. Byrne goes out. Well, Dubliner Peter Lynch has a 9-second advantage in his Toyota Corolla over Norman Ferguson in the Mini Special, but he's going to need it. And in fact, he's completed the first 2 manoeuvres before the second man arrives at his, but Lynch has blown it. Lynch has lost it, lost his gears there, and already Norman Ferguson is ahead. And one mistake like that is far too many when you've got opposition from somebody like Ferguson, and Ferguson should easily be able to get through this one now without too much difficulty and preserve his little Mini Special to go through into the next round. So there's Norman Ferguson, in fact, of course that's Peter Lynch there, Ferguson in the yellow Special. A man with great motorsport experience, former Northern Ireland escort racing champion. And I'm afraid Peter Lynch, and also a man with a lot of motor racing experience, is rather floundering in the Toyota Corolla, but it should be said that he had never driven this car before this evening, so it's a bit of a tall order to expect him to go in and get through any further in this competition. The Autotest Drivers Club emblem proudly emblazoned on Derek Coates' car. He's a leading light in the club and very largely responsible for organising this meeting. And there he is in the Toyota GT that I think he's borrowed for this occasion. He'll be quite happy with the fact that he's still in the competition at this stage. Stephen Griffin is his opposition this time. And he has that handicap advantage again. but and keeping it very well indeed at the moment. Derek Coates then in the Toyota GT, and Griffin's in trouble. Stephen Griffin in trouble there in the beach buggy, the Volkswagen engine beach buggy, with a limited slip differential, and that's surely spoiled the Dubliners' chances. I noticed they were looking very closely at Derek Coates' end line there. I hope that was okay. And despite Griffin's stop, he's certainly making up time on the Bangor man at the moment. And this is incredible. Griffin is actually going to go ahead, I think, of the Toyota before they get to the finish line. And who would have suspected that? Griffin wins. Well, Dermot Carnegie has so far had the fastest time of 49.33 on this run. This is Frank Lenehan you're looking at in the MG Metro, again with the handicap start over Sam Bowden in the mini special. Again, the Stewartstown man on the far side, one of the young up-and-coming men of Autotest, whereas Frank Lenehan has been in this game for very many years. Used to Autotest a little Datsun Sunny, which his wife incidentally used to drive to the shops to do the shopping in also. For 5 years he used that car and has changed over to the Metro last year and got very well used to it, as you can see, but not quick enough, I'm afraid, here, because Sam Bowden has already overtaken him despite that handicap. And the man who's currently lying second in the Northern Ireland Championship, really going well here today. Very quick indeed. It's going to be a comfortable win for the mini special. And Frank Lenehan, stripped from Dublin, I'm afraid his competition is over. So going into Heat 3, it's again the experts like Dermot Carnegie, Harold Hagan and Ken Irwin, who's in a mini special now, having his own car having broken down, versus the new men, people like Colin Ernie, Sam Bowden and Noel Cochrane. If Heat 1 and 2 were hard to remember, just look at this. This is Heat 3 and 4. We start in forward, round the pylons, keeping her forward, reverse, and then a 360 in reverse, a very difficult maneuver, forward again, through this crocodile walk, keeping her going and forward all that distance before we get back to this point, and then we have a similar 360 maneuver in reverse, forward again, and this is where you could really get lost before you eventually come over the finish line. Steve Griffin on the left explaining to his fellow competitor there, Peter Lynch, how this one goes, and really this is an absolute teaser, round 3. So off they go, and Heat 3, Harold Hagan with that slight handicap advantage, and this very complicated test which takes a lot of walking about and a lot of learning. And up they come, throw the tail, reverse through that one, and still Harold Hagan in the MG Midget. And Dermot Carnegie really getting into his stride now. You can see there in the long shot that Carnegie is undoubtedly catching, keeping it very tight around that one, but a long way behind still. Hagan holding the advantage of his handicap, I would think, at the moment. 44-year-old man Harold Hagan. There's the Dublin Crystal mini special of Dermot Carnegie, an absolute master at this craft, and very determined to get himself into the quarterfinals. If he can beat him on this one, he's certainly catching him at the moment. There's very little in it. Carnegie has taken the lead. Carnegie now in the lead to take as Heat 3 win over Harold Hagan, and Harold Hagan goes out of the competition. Colin Ernie goes off in the MG Metro, the Autotest Drivers Club champion in 1984. Behind him, Alan Murray, who would admit, I would think himself, that he is lucky to be still in the competition, because it was actually Stephen Rainey who beat him the last time by 2 seconds, but Rainey had taken a pylon, giving him the disadvantage of 5 seconds. So Murray still there, and at the moment, undoubtedly catching Colin Rainey. This is a deceptive part because it's a very slow maneuver indeed, and Rainey now about 3/4 way through it, and there you can see Murray actually physically catching him at the moment. Not a mistake by either driver so far that we can see. Colin Ernie, is he going to stay ahead? He's got a great chance of doing it. Ernie round that pylon forward, and Murray's in trouble. Murray in trouble. And I think it's gearbox trouble that he had in the previous round, and either the drive shaft or the gearbox has gone in that car, and Alan Murray definitely this time pushes his mini special back and out of the competition. You're in Ken Irwin's passenger seat, looking and ready for the lights to change. Irwin having changed cars now to a mini special belonging to Raymond Donaldson after the gearbox of his own car went. A very sporting gesture indeed by the Castlederg man. But Ken Irwin, never having tried this car, well, certainly not recently anyway before, the chances are that he possibly built this car or certainly helped Raymond Donaldson in its construction. So Ken Irwin in the strange car. Alongside him will be Roger Cree in a very similar car. It should be a very close heat indeed. Roger Cree, who won the Northern Ireland Autotest Championship way back in 1969 in an MG Midget, is now come back into the sport after having some very good results in rallying, again in minis. Very much a front-wheel drive man. And there's Cree in the background. The lights about to flicker onto red and onto green, and off go the two mini specials absolutely together. At the moment it's Cree just ahead. So Roger Cree still ahead of Ken Irwin. Or is he? Irwin seems to have made up in that reversing manoeuvre. Ken Irwin, the multi-champion, and definitely now Irwin is ahead and Cree's in big trouble. Roger Cree on the far side, so the Cookstown Sizzler sizzling up this track at the moment, and you can see little Ken Irwin with the peak of his cap well down, using the handbrake to great advantage. Down he comes into reverse, long way ahead of Cree now. He must keep away from the coniferous and not get any of those 5-second penalties. But Speedy's on his way to a victory in this one. Ken Irwin takes it convincingly. Harold Hazard with that handicap advantage in the MG Metro, now well ahead of Norman Ferguson in the mini special. And this is going to be difficult for the Rent-A-Truck man to stay ahead. Norman Ferguson a little bit over-exuberant there in his efforts to catch Hazard. Hazard, again, a man who's very experienced in the large saloon car class. He was the Northern Ireland champion in 1983 in that category. Norman Ferguson with that racing experience behind him. And he's certainly closing the gap a little bit now, but I think he's got too much leeway to make up. It looks like it's easily going to Hazard this one. Hazard round at 360 forward. And he's always in trouble, Hazard there. He's lost it at the very end, nearly went the wrong way, and he gave it to Norman Ferguson. So Ferguson, a lucky man to take that one, and Hazard will be furious with himself for blowing it at the very last manoeuvre. Well, that's a monkey puzzle if ever I saw one. The exhaust system of Stephen Griffin's beach buggy. The Dublin garage owner, away he goes, and again a handicap over Sam Bowden in the mini special who just gets going now, but Bowden's on super form and should catch this man. Steve Griffin, 40 years old, enjoying thoroughly his drive in the beach buggy tonight. Oh, and very close to that tree that time. He really has to watch it, and already Sam Bowden is with him and just about to go ahead. Bowden is now ahead. So the 23-year-old motor mechanic from Stewartstown having taken the lead before they get even halfway through the course. But remember, Griffin came back very strongly in the last heat, but he's going to have an awful lot of leeway to make up this time. And it's Sam Bowden who has got it all wound up, provided he keeps going the right way and keeps the right side of the trees. And he's done it so far, a perfect run for Bowden, and I would imagine a very quick time as Griffin comes into the finish. Noel Cochrane, the fastest man on the first two tests so far in the Ford engine midget. And we've just got a late piece of information. In fact, it's Norman Ferguson, it's Harold Hazard who goes through in the Norman Ferguson battle, which was full of drama because Norman Ferguson had a 5-second penalty. Meanwhile, we're watching Cochrane and Eamon Byrne. Eamon Byrne on the right, Noel Cochrane in the Ford engine midget. Beautifully stylish driver, this man from Newtonards, farmer from Newtonards, and just getting that midget singing. And this seems to be a test that really suits the midget. Eamon Byrne, on the other hand, engaged to be married and having given up Autotests until his brother-in-law lent him this car to do this event, and how well he's doing in it, but it's Cochrane who goes through. And so the drivers studying the results, and into the quarter-finals go Dermot Carnegie, Colin Ernie, Ken Irwin, Harold Hazard, Sam Bowden, Noel Cochrane, and Eamon Byrne and Roger Cree getting in as the two fastest losers from the previous round. So as the list gets shorter, the competition gets hotter. We're now into the quarter-final stage, and you're looking down on Colin Ernie and that immaculate little MG Metro. The Cumber shop proprietor will have a 3-second advantage over Dermot Carnegie in the mini special. Dermot Carnegie totally dominant, and there you can see him just concentrating at the moment. He will have to watch rather desperately as Colin Ernie disappears away with that advantage, and there he goes. Ernie's away. 3 seconds go before Carnegie starts. Carnegie's now on the course. Colin Ernie on the right then, with about 1 pylon ahead at the moment. And a very experienced and careful driver this man is. Started in 1977, but look at Dermot Carnegie, who's been at, he was a champion. He's been at Autotesting for 22 years. Colin Ernie, a beginner's Autotest winner, and then progressed up into the large saloon car class, and he's staying ahead well. He had one of the quickest times in the first run through this test. In fact, the second quickest. It sort of suits the MG Metros. Colin Ernie did a 53.45 as opposed to Noel Cochrane 53.43, and it looks very much as if Ernie can knock out one of the favorites, Dermot Carnegie, at this stage. He's done it. And if this is a Metro test, we've an exactly similar situation here, because on the right is Harold Hazard in the MG Metro, and on the left, Ken Irwin in the Mini Special. Now, Ken, Speedy Irwin will really have to go some to catch Harold Hazard, who has been consistent and very quick during these tests, but he's in trouble. Hazard's in trouble. He's come to a complete halt. Hazard has either stalled the car or indeed his gearbox has gone. Transmission, of course, and gearbox, the big problem in this type of event. He's getting a push, so it seems to insinuate that he'd stalled the car, but he's not trying to start it again. He's gone, his drive is gone. Ken Irwin gets a very easy bye into the semi-finals. So Ken Irwin, flamboyant as ever, almost totally out of the car, head right out to sea if the front wheels were positioned as they should be over the line. Now we have an interesting situation. Sam Bowden in the Mini Special with 3 seconds to make up on Noel Cochrane, who has been a consistently quick man. He was fastest in this test in the first run. I don't think even Sam Bowden, who's lying second at the moment in the Northern Ireland Championship, can do it. Cochrane must be considered to be favourite there. So Cochrane, with the Ford engine car, away he goes. It's immensely powerful, and he handles it beautifully. After him goes, in a forlorn hope, Sam Bowden, but Sam is a young man and totally determined, and he will really be trying everything he knows. But look at Cochrane, placing that midget perfectly through the first gate there. Having a little bit of difficulty. He will be certainly slower in that maneuver than the Mini Special, and indeed he was. Bowden closing a little bit at this stage, but down they go through the crocodile walk, and Noel Cochrane really using the rear wheel drive of the midget to get the tail out around the pylon. Sam Bowden, you're watching in the foreground. Cochrane still comfortably ahead of him at this stage, but Bowden fighting right to the end, and Bowden certainly catching, but he made a mistake. He blew it there and then. Bowden's gone. Cochrane must do it. He must, of course, keep away from the trees, and he's done it. Noel Cochrane. A fabulous run, and we've heard that Hazard's problem was indeed a drive shaft. And this is a straight fight for the last place now in the semi-finals. Eamon Byrne in the mini special from Dublin, from Delgany to be more exact, in County Wicklow, there nervously playing with the handbrake, and away goes against Roger Cree. Both mini specials should be absolutely together, these two. And that's exactly what they are at the moment. Fabulous stuff indeed. And look at that. You would think they'd practiced it for years, but of course they hadn't seen this test, or indeed the diagram, before this evening. At this time, though, it's Eamon Byrne ahead, or is he? Both crashing the gearbox a little bit there. That's rough on the transmission. They have to watch out for that. Again, using the handbrake to get round these pylons. And still they're absolutely together. There's nothing between these two. Cree on the far side. Eamon Byrne now in picture. Both throwing the car beautifully. And they're absolutely dead heating at the moment, the two mini specials. Who's going to be quicker into first? And that time it was Eamon Byrne. A lot of smoke coming out of the mini, though, and just look at this. It's going to be a judge's decision. I think it was Cree, but it was oh so close. Well, as the Tiger, probably fairly disinterested in these goings-on here at Belfast Zoo, wanders around his cage. We are now down to the fabulous four for the semi-final, and those are Colin Ernie versus Ken Irwin, Noel Cochrane versus Roger Cree, and a very interesting mix of the classes, because Colin Ernie is in Class C, the 11 to 13 foot saloons. Then we have Ken Irwin and Roger Cree in the mini specials, and of course Noel Cochrane in that Ford engine midget, the rear-wheel drive sports cars. For the semi-finalists and finalists, the snake lies ahead of them. Off the start line, into reverse, back into forward again, back into reverse again, and then we get into this extraordinary slalom. Finally positioning our car here to go over the end line in reverse. Forward again, up the slalom. Keep going forward. Forward across this line, reverse over, change direction, 360 degrees, and you're home. And so we start the semi-finals, and a new course for the semi-finals and finals. Colin Ernie, nice low shot of that absolutely immaculate MG Metro. Beautiful credit to Colin Ernie and his team, the way that car is turned out. And of course, his driving standard right up to the standard of preparation. This man really has literally not put a wheel wrong throughout this competition. Now he's in the semi-final. He has that 3-second advantage over Ken Irwin. We don't know whether this is going to be a Metro or a mini special test. We'll have to wait and see. Colin Ernie is underway. So is Speedy in the background. Ken Irwin and the Cookstown Sizzler. Down they come. And there's the nice high shot, which shows you just exactly where they're at. Colin Early certainly at the moment holding his advantage. Down they go through the snake, and this is where you can very easily get lost. You've got to tipper into reverse, but there's no doubt that Speedy, I think, made up ground, but he was close. He was slow getting it into forward gear again, and I think he lost what he made up at that time. It looks very much at the moment as if Colin Ernie is going to get into the final with this performance. Colin Ernie, then, 25-year-old from Cumber, has done it. He's in the final. Noel Cochrane must be favoured. He has the 3-second handicap advantage. Even if it was a scratch situation, I would say it would be very close between Cochrane and Roger Cree in the mini special, who lines up alongside him, the second semi-finalist pair. Cochrane there just for the last moment, reminding which way to go. It's a terrible teaser for these drivers to remember not only how to control their motor cars, but which way to go. And when the tension's on like this, in front of the television cameras, anything can happen. Off goes Noel Cochrane. And now Roger Cree really having a very hard job to do to try and catch this Ford engine midget man. So the Newton Arts farmer versus the Belfast garage owner. And a place in the final is the reward for these two. There's no doubt about it at the moment. It's Cochrane. Cochrane in reverse. Okay, the marshal has cleared it. Roger Cree coming back down the slalom, and Cochrane in the Ford engine car has an enormous advantage. That's a very tight little gate to get into. Roger Cree does it perfectly, but Cochrane's going to take it by quite an advantage. And he now will meet Colin Ernie in the final. The runoff then for third place between Ken Irwin and Roger Cree. You're looking at the twinkle toes of Ken Irwin. It should be a really good one. There's no handicap in this. They're both mini specials, and they're absolutely together at the moment. Ken Irwin leaning forward, urging on his little model, but it's not working at the moment. They're absolutely together. Ken Irwin now is a little bit faster, certainly through the snake, and he's taken an advantage there as he gets into reverse. Cree losing out, but Cree quick away. And they're together again now. Cree beautifully recovered there, very quickly away, and there's nothing in it. Absolutely nothing between the two mini specials. Roger Cree on the far side, Ken Irwin on the near side. Roger Cree in the white car, Ken Irwin in the red car. Cree does it! Roger Cree beating Ken Irwin, and he will be very, very pleased about that one. Colin Ernie, you're in the car almost with him here at the moment in his MG Metro, one of the two finalists, and there's Noel Cochrane in the Ford engined midget, concentrating for the big moment, for the final that will be over 2 legs incidentally, and away they go. It's an absolutely scratch situation. The midget should be more powerful, but 2 legs, twice the length to make mistakes, and there's nothing in it at the moment. Colin Ernie on this side in the Metro. Noel Cochrane on the far side, and they're really absolutely together. It's thrilling stuff indeed, but the midget has it in power through the snake there, and Colin Ernie was a bit slow getting away that time. The advantage now is undoubtedly with Noel Cochrane. Noel Cochrane cleanly into the garage, but once again Colin Ernie has made up time, and if anything he's ahead at the moment. It's sensationally close. It's going to be Colin Ernie to take the first leg from Noel Cochrane, and Cochrane just getting a little bit too excited at the very end there and getting that midget a little bit too sideways and losing valuable fractions of a second. But they've got to do it all over again. So Colin Ernie going ahead, but he's had a 5-second penalty in the first half of this final, and this is going to leave Noel Cochrane with a very big advantage. Cochrane, who finished actually behind Ernie at the end of the first run, but we didn't know that Ernie had that telltale 5 seconds. So Noel Cochrane really has to keep it together now, and he's going to win this important auto test. Ernie ahead on the road in this one. And down they come, and of course Colin Ernie will be very disappointed to have learnt about that 5-second penalty. Meanwhile he's fighting, he's putting on a superb performance. They're still absolutely together, and then once again it was Ernie who took it on the road, but we'll have to check. It looks like Cochrane has won it. So Marie O'Flynn, the wife of the competitor Paul O'Flynn, who came the furthest to compete here tonight, presents the prize to Noel Cochrane, a very worthy winner of this invitation auto test. And Colin Ernie alongside him, who gave him such a great battle, in second place. Congratulations, Noel. What a win. Right to the very end, you had us on the tips of our toes.
Thank you. Yes, it was very good. It was enjoyable, I think, for both drivers and spectators. I certainly couldn't believe that it was here at the finish with Dermot and Robert and Alan Murray and so on here.
Well, the power of that midget seemed to be hard to beat tonight.
Yes, it's certainly looked that way anyway. The tests are very suitable for midgets. They're good and open and fast, not too much reversing.
And this man beside you didn't give you much leeway, did he? Colin, you really went for it in the final there.
Yes, it was worth a try anyway. Noel had a power advantage on those particular tests in the final, and I had to more or less give it all in the final, and it was worth a try. It was close to the finish. Both cars finished on the line much at the same time.
And the penalties caught you out?
It did, just about, yes. That's my usual problem every day.
It was close nevertheless. Some pretty exciting stuff at Bellevue. The commentator there was Alan Tyndall. The big international motoring event of the weekend, of course, has been the Le Mans